Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, One Piece chapter 986 is out. If you haven't checked out that chapter yet, I suggest that you do so because I will be spoiling you. Now that you have, let's begin. So you guys know I don't usually talk about the cover story unless I feel like there's something about it worth mentioning. And this is one of those cover story chapters. It's honestly been a while since I genuinely laughed out loud reading a cover story, but this one did it for me. Oh, such a feel-good story. A dad reunites with his long-lost daughters and vows to make up for lost time. You can't be my father. I'm leaving now. Obviously, this is not where the story ends, and Oda intends to take this further. At some point, Lola and Chiffon will acknowledge or discover or find out that Pound is their father. The way that I assume that Oda is eventually going to get this is the only real way that this can be settled if they don't believe that he is their father is for Big Mom to confirm this. So that's how I see this one resolving. Lola and Chiffon are definitely going to confront Big Mom at some point in the future of the story, for sure, especially Lola. And if Pound simply follows them or something like that and interjects himself in this story somehow, then they can discover the truth. But yeah, from this cover story itself, man, you just feel so bad for Pound. But at the same time, it's so funny that I laughed out loud, so like, does that make me a bad person? I feel like it probably does. But yeah, of course we have to talk about this. Did you guys cry during this chapter? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I did. We talked about this a few days ago. The editor said that he cried during the next chapter, and now the debate is what chapter was he talking about? For me, it could have been this chapter. For many other people, I hear them saying it's probably not this chapter. And you know, even though I cried during this chapter, I recognize that the present situation, what Oda sort of led to, where we are right now, it also provides a lot of opportunity and potential for tears. So I'm just going to leave it here. If nothing happens within the next chapter, or maybe the chapter after that, it doesn't appear as though there's a moment that's like, okay, this is definitely should have made me cry or was an attempt at that, then I'm going to assume that the editor was actually talking about this scene with Momonosuke in this chapter. Guys, I would say that I saw Oda taking this route of having Momonosuke be brave for an emotional moment. But it's not simply that idea which makes it good, you also have to execute it, and I think Oda absolutely did. What is your name? You wouldn't say it before. Say that you are not the son of Odin, and I will spare you. Momonosuke is a scared little kid. He does not want to die. But I guess even more than that, he doesn't want to renounce his father and forsake his people. You know, I don't know how justified this is. It's probably not justified at all. But as I was reading it, I almost kind of interpreted this as a test from Kaido. Like, if Momonosuke had decided to take life, then Kaido was going to kill him anyway. And maybe he would have been even more justified in doing so. Kaido is not against killing people, especially people that he considers to be useless or not worthy of his time. But there are several examples of Kaido sparing his enemies that he deemed worthy, that he actually wanted to recruit, like Shutenmaru, or Hawkins, or Kid and Luffy. I'm just saying, guys, again, I don't know how justified this really is, but I just can't shake the feeling that Momonosuke actually chose the path here that is more likely to lead to his survival, in the case that the situation gets worse. He showed some backbone, and at the very least, I think Kaido should respect that. To Kaido, it's as simple as, Odin was great and powerful and fearless, you are not. Admit that. Take the easy out here that I am giving you, and you will also get what you want, life. But this sort of presumes that pirates are trustworthy. I don't know, just gonna throw my thoughts out there. Obviously, by the end of this chapter, Momonosuke is in roughly the same situation. Obviously, the Scabbards have intervened, but at some point, I feel like the story is gonna go back to him, and this question of defying Kaido is going to be addressed. Oda is still building Momonosuke up. I personally think that it is impossible to make Momonosuke a warrior in such a short time. I mean, I've heard some theories like, well, Shinobu can age him using her mature devil fruit. That still, I mean, even if he's older, that won't make Momonosuke a warrior. He doesn't have the skill and the power, I think, to really, for that to matter. But I do think that Oda can make him a person worthy of respect, and he's been very slow in accomplishing this, but it is being accomplished. Although I do find it interesting that in this chapter, Nami sort of encourages Shinobu to go rescue Momonosuke. That appears to be where she's heading. So if Momonosuke is going to get out of the crucifix, and I mean, I guess we would assume Shinobu. But yeah, I would say that the heart of this chapter, the greatest takeaway of it, is the Scabbards and Momonosuke. They've been preparing for this moment for a very long time, someone like Denjiro literally 20 years. So I think that it's fitting that the battle starts with them. Especially Momonosuke, I really enjoyed this chapter. When Momonosuke actually said his name, I cried. It wasn't like the biggest cry ever, but I mean, it happened. Many of the samurai were there in that crowd, and they saw his bravery. I don't even think that he knew this. And somehow this makes me, even more emotional thinking about it. Greatness when nobody you care about is watching is the best form of greatness, if you ask me. I would say that over the course of 6 months or so, Momonosuke has absolutely grown. This chapter progressed events far faster than I thought that it would. Not saying that this is a bad thing, I'm definitely satisfied, but it was how quickly we got to this moment did catch me a little off guard. I did not realize just how close the scabbards were to the stage, or that they would be able to arrive so quickly. But Oda told us that this was going to happen from very early on. The scabbards were going to ambush Kaido. This was the point of sneaking in, and the war not starting immediately. Oda has building up to this moment that he had in his mind from the very start, and this is exactly what we got. It's what happened. Even if before this chapter you could not imagine it. I personally enjoy that turn of expectations. From the last chapter, I just assumed, well, Luffy was gonna start this war, but it was not, and it was really satisfying. It was much better than how I imagined it. But let's all agree here, right? Kaido is not defeated, obviously, and he is not killed here. There is no chance that that happened. But is he actually caught? I want to say yes, but if not, oh boy, things are not looking good. From the start, they considered this plan, this moment, to be their Hail Mary. If it doesn't even scratch Kaido, I mean, the omen is not good, because they did not believe that they could take Kaido in a straight-up fight. Don't underestimate the fact that the only person ever to be able to cut Kaido was Oden. Are Denjiro and Kinemon suddenly going to be able to accomplish his feat? I mean, I don't know. Is Kinemon that much stronger than he was 6 months ago? I don't know. Either scenario, I think, then would carry some weight and make sense if told in the right way. It all depends on where Oda wants to go. If they fail, that is to say that they don't even cut Kaido, or even if they do cut Kaido, it's like immediately, okay, this didn't go well. This is when it starts looking real bleak. If they succeed, they cut Kaido, it would also be a massive accomplishment, and a likely scenario, I think, that would make this battle seem more legitimate. Like the good guys actually have a chance at all, even if that hope is snatched away again sometime later. But yeah, for me right now, it really comes down to the question of how legitimate is this battle going to be? And how will Oda play with our expectations? If you reread all the major battles in One Piece, it always flips between hope and despair. Sometimes in a case like Sabaody, this only happens once, where you have all of this ease and confidence, and then you hit the wall, and it's shocking. In other situations, it might flip multiple times, like in Marineford, where you go in with some amount of confidence, it's ease, and then you're like, okay, wait, Ace might actually be executed, we need to hurry up. And then you finally get there and you save Ace, and then Ace turns around. So all I'm really saying, guys, right now, is that we have hope. The general vibe of the characters and the story is optimistic. Luffy isn't freaking out yet, so despair is certainly incoming. But what will the circumstance look like at that time? Will it be sooner or later? That's where I'm at. You guys know I'd personally be pushing for this assassination to go horribly wrong, just like Big Mom. That's my agenda. I'm not saying that that has to happen. I'm just saying that in my mind, that seems like the area of greater bounty. And in fact, talking about Big Mom, she's still chilling here, which is, like the thing that the characters in the story have absolutely underestimated. It was like, okay, well, killing Kaido, maybe that's accomplishable, but then Big Mom as well. And nobody's really addressing that right now. It's the uncomfortable truth in the room. But aside from Big Mom being present there, I think that Kaido turning this around quickly would definitely make my heart rate go up. Kaido regroups along with his calamities. He's basically uninjured. The swords did not cut him. And he ends the Scabbards' careers. His subordinates then take the Scabbards on, and Kaido turns to finish Momonosuke. Something like this, that's the kind of reader anxiety that I crave. I don't know if I want this to devolve into an all-out skirmish at our present anxiety level, with no great immediate sense of the characters in the story believing, well, this is going to end horribly. That's sort of what I'm waiting for. The characters in the story themselves coming to the dramatic realization, like, this is not going to go as we hoped that it would. But yeah, along the same train of thought, a lot of people see Scabbards dying in the next chapter or soon, and I'm not too sure that they will die. But I do want to point out that Sanachi is essentially a suicide war cry. That is why Okiku never wanted or allowed Momonosuke to say it. It is meant for those who are expendable. So take that how you want to. I definitely believe, as far as the Scabbards are concerned, the majority of them, absolutely they could die, and that would make sense in the story. The honest truth is that for the vast majority of them, the only thing that they really need to accomplish in this story is the fight itself, and the result is not important. And you know, I even see people including Scabbards like Kinemon as one who can't die. I mean, I don't share that opinion. I think Kinemon might be the most impactful death possible out of all the Scabbards. So maybe he is most worthy. But yeah, let's talk about Yamato and his cuffs. So the bomb cuffs were a real thing. Kaido was willing to kill his own child. What do you think that the significance of this is? You know, Kaido is a bad father is pretty obvious to me and has been obvious from the jump. Was he capable of killing his son? It didn't seem like a thing worthy of too much debate. I think, yeah. So again, what is the significance? Even if this proves the fact that Kaido is willing to kill Yamato, it proves it to Yamato, it could have been proven in many other ways as well, including in an actual fight against him, which would have felt less ham-handed into the story, right? We have these exploding cuffs, now they're taken off, there was an explosion. Overall, it did very little. It's clear enough that the point of all this was not about the cuffs themselves or causing a distraction, it was to let you know about where Kaido stood with his own child. I've said this from very nearly the start about Big Mom. She has never killed one of her children intentionally, at least not yet, not once. This remains a low-key, legitimate question about her. She, of course, has threatened Lola and Chiffon and probably others. Her family believes in those threats because Big Mom has actually killed children while she rages, but I suspect that they do not know, and in fact, many people who read the story do not know, that Big Mom has no memory of these things and is not consciously and rationally deciding what to do when she rages. So that's not Big Mom. So in this one moment, with these handcuffs, Oda proves that Kaido is capable of doing this thing that he has been very ambiguous about with Big Mom. I just want to point that out to you. We may look back at this sometime in the distant future and think something different to what we got out of it right here and right now. It may have a double meaning. Kaido doesn't make idle threats, but does Big Mom? Regardless of your stance on this, it's a hanging question. And I do think that there will be a moment in the future of the story where Oda will absolutely make this question central to some dramatic moment. Like, will Big Mom kill her daughter? Won't she? Is it a threat? Is it real? That will be an actual a plot point. Such as when Lola returns to the story and confronts Big Mom. But yeah, I suppose that we need to talk about Kanjuro. Is Kanjuro dead? I mean, no, I don't think so. But I've got to admit for now that there's really no longer any reason for him to be alive, aside from his possible redemption, which is not a confirmed thing which has to happen. I assume that many people are going to bring up this interesting sound effect that was near his body as the Scabbards walked away. I believe it was Poff. I'm going to look forward to how the official translates that, but this may not be the confirmation that some might take it to mean. As far as I know, Poff is a sound effect essentially meaning ow, or I hurt. And Denjiro even says afterwards, hurts doesn't it? So they left Kanjuro to die, and he is in pain. All it really confirms is that Kanjuro may not be dead yet. Either way, I do think that he will find a way to survive, even if the purpose of that is his eventual redemption, which is something that I do personally believe in. And I also think that he might need to encounter Hiyori, who is another missing in action character who needs to somehow arrive here. And the circumstances which will allow that are still unclear. Honestly, right now, guys, there is still so much going on. There's so much possibility, things that I think need to happen, various hanging plot threads, that it's hard to believe in this battle as it stands. But I think for sure, Kanjuro's defeat and death in this chapter is a bit underwhelming. I think that we all expected for him to get more time in the story after all of this setup. The payoff really was not equal to the time spent. I'm not going to say that it's garbage because I definitely enjoyed this chapter, even Kanjuro's part in it. I definitely felt some emotional weight there. But the pacing of it just has my spidey senses tingling, along with Orochi's death, which I also do not believe in. In fact, these two deaths almost coupled together, one after another, almost validates the survival of both, because I absolutely do not believe Orochi is dead. And so Kanjuro is more up for debate, but it would be really weird if Orochi returned alive and Kanjuro stayed dead. But we'll see. I also find myself after this chapter having a greater respect for Dendro, which I think was intentional. Remember, a few chapters back, Dendro saved Orochi's life, stopped Zoro from killing him, and it was a thing that Oda used to make us question where it is that he stands. In this chapter, Shinobu had this thought, right? Killing Orochi never even mattered. Orochi never mattered. It was all about Kaido from the very beginning. If anything, Orochi might give you an opportunity because of the mistakes that he is going to make. But I still find myself wanting to know how Dendro would react to the knowledge that Orochi has been killed. For 20 years, he has sold his soul for the sake of living within Orochi's Wano. I kind of want to see this resolved. It seems pretty well telegraphed that Orochi's subordinates are at some point in time going to turn on Kaido. Now obviously the leaders of the various factions were quick to say, oh, of course we side with you, Kaido, but the actual members seemed to be unsure of or weren't expecting them to make that decision. Especially the Oni Wabanshu, which were like, oh, so we're siding with Kaido, okay. You definitely know that at some point in time Oda is going to explore this doubt. Yeah guys, this chapter was really good. I've almost felt this way about every chapter since the last 5 or so. They've progressively gotten better and better, and my expectations for the next one go up, and this chapter is absolutely no exception. As always, I'm curious as to what you guys think about the chapter, whether you noticed something from the chapter that I might have missed. Just share your thoughts. As always, guys, we will be talking about the official translation when that is released, so you guys can expect that. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.